Alrighty, howdy there, my name is Jupe, and today this is going to be a speed paint, kind of showing you the process of how I draw. So one of the things is I knew I wanted for this piece, I wanted there to be two characters, because I wanted this to be a draw this in your style meme. So I wanted it to be the two characters that are kind of the most popular ones in the fandom, and I wanted it to be more simple to attract people from all kinds of skill levels, all kind of experience levels. So I wasn't doing anything complicated with motion. As you can see here, I am fast. One of the ways I am fast is you can see that in these first couple of passes with my sketch, I don't really erase things. I save that for kind of my final line work. I just put things on the paper and I add detail over top. There we go. I slapped it down to 20%, and this is going to be my second kind of sketch where I have that base layer to work off of, so I can slap the things that I want in there. I add an earring that I think I forget to put in later. I do a little bit more on the eyes, but they're still not my focus. I add a distinctive shape to the nose because that's going to be a bigger feature on the face than the eyes are. I don't go into any depths with the pupils. I don't make a really distinct expression on this guy's face because I don't need to. I get the shape of the head and I move on. I don't even add a neck, I just start going in with the coat immediately. I do change the collar of this coat later into something more militaristic instead of this more fashionable high feather coat collar. Let's see. And then with this one, you can see that the way that his hands are positioned, I don't need to draw fingers. That is on purpose. Because this is a draw this in your style meme and I wanted it to be open to people of all creation levels, I didn't want there to be heavy focus on something that is a little bit harder maybe to achieve for some people, the hands, so I just tucked the hands in. That is a little trick on the coat, what I'm doing there. That's just to give the coat a little bit more body. You just pop it in. You add a little bit of a distinctive belt line. With the pockets, I do the same thing. It's just a really distinctive shape, indicating pockets. You can make them bigger, smaller, more defined, whatever. It's a simple shape. You can repeat that ad infinitum, make Batman's belt, you can make belt pocket, you can do everything. This character is a little sharper, so I make him a little sharper. I make his hair sharper. I don't make it as curly on top. I make it a little heavier, a little more straighter on top. And of course, I add the distinctive curl to the bottom. This one, and it's about this time that I knew I did that hand wrong. I come back, I fix that later. But for right now, I'm just blocking in kind of the shapes I want, what I want the coats to look like. I know I get these legs wrong too, so I just kind of call it a day. With the background, I wanted there to be a background, but I didn't want it to be an incredibly intensive background. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a little artist trick here, and I'm just making a kind of a circle, and I'm filling it in with some random bits and bobs that could be in a cityscape, like a street lamp. I add a skyline to later on. So this is the one where I start doing my kind of final line art. I get the pen looking how I want it to. It's just a mechanical pencil pen in Clip Studio Paint. Comes with the program. And I start doing my lines. I don't really focus on making my lines perfect here. I don't need them to be perfect. You can tell I draw over them all the time. You can tell that I'm not afraid of using the undo button. I do change its color later at the suggestion of a friend. I forget to draw an earring there, but I didn't need it. And I am doing I'm not overlaying my strokes too much. I usually draw one stroke and I'm done with it. I'm not even connecting them all the time. You can tell I do a lot of implied strokes here and there. So this one, I just kind of slam that kind of wristband in there to make it a kind of hoodie-ish band with that elastic, and I call it a day. With that one, it's just a line down the center where that seam would be and two stress marks, those little ticks. So with that belt, it's 2 lines for the belt line and then a couple of ticks showing their stress on the fabric. buttons and then a box with 2 lines in the middle and a button, call it a day. That's how you do buttons. That's how you do basic pockets. Trust me, they help on a lot of more military army jacket kind of things. That's how you do the side pocket. You just add that little kind of half hook shape. With jeans, it's easy. You just draw, I don't really know, it's like a lopsided rectangle. You add 2 lines of stress, call it a day. So this one, instead of starting with the scalp and moving down, I started with the bangs. So I could get the eye shape of this guy correct. There we go. Really more intense than the other guy. And there we go. And I'm not really worried about the eyes looking perfect. I didn't copy, I didn't paste, I didn't do anything of that because I didn't need them to be perfect. Because honestly, no one's going to notice stuff like that anyway. It's really weird if they look exactly the same. And there we go. I think I draw my... So here's where I'm kind of refining. You see it right there. I refined that line. I wasn't perfect in my other 2. I refined it there. There we go. And adding these extra kind of detail lines really do make something look way more detailed than the effort that I'm putting into it. And I do know that this arm is wrong, and I do fix it right here. Here we go. Moved it down. And a bunch of buttons. There we go. And then that is going to be my quasi building. This is going to be my street light. And then I'd kind of put a circle knowing what I want it to be. And then I do a skyline in the back. Perfect. Well, there we go. That's my background. Called it a day. I do try to do windows here, but I have to give up. I'm like, fuck it. And then this is going to be where I switch. You can tell that the collar is now different. What I did to make the line art different, I didn't record it, but I just copied, pasted, and then I did the top one is 50% of the normal. Right there is I selected and I covered a white area so I can put a clipping mask onto it instead of actually having to bother to go in and very finely get my lines in and get those colors blocked out really fine perfectly. I did that one selection tool, put white on the back, and I clipped it to it. If you don't know how clipping masks work, I highly suggest you figure it out because it's a lifesaver. This one, I'm using a textured blur tool on top of a watercolor pen. It helps really do that texture of the skin. With the freckles, I have a dot brush and I erase just a little bit with that kneaded eraser around the mouth because freckles aren't really prominent around the mouth often. So it kind of gives it a more realistic freckle fade. So with the clipping mask, I can be as loose as I want on the outside, and on the inside I just make sure that I really do get the fine line down, and then on the outside I make a big loop and I fill it in with the bucket tool. Clip Studio is not known for its bucket tool. In fact, it's nefarious for not having a good bucket tool, but you can kind of work around it. This character also has a white streak in his hair, and at first I tried one pen that I didn't really like, so I switched to another one. And then I think so this is the cloth right here. You can tell I kind of do sections at a time. I fill in this top, and then I move to this bottom here. And there we go. Fill in a big section at a time. And then this is all going to be one color that I work with. I made it a cool gray, and I just worked with the variations and tones in that one color. Because I didn't need a lot of color in this guy's color scheme. He's wearing a big ass winter coat. There we go. And I just added some variation, made that a lighter area in the color. I do see those 2 dots, I do fill those in, yep. And then with this guy, I actually, if you see me, I do a mess up on my layers here in a second. I'm actually drawing on the multiply layer right now. I should have figured that out as soon as I fill in the collar, but I didn't. But you can tell I'm just doing that same strategy. I'm just filling in the big blocks, and because this is underneath the other guy's coat, I can just kind of fill in really big blocks in those more complicated elbow areas. And instead of making these flesh tones, I just give him mittens because he deserves them. It's cold outside. About right here is when I notice that I mess up, because I start trying to fill in the lighter area of the coat, and I start there and I'm like, wait a minute. And so what I do is I just kind of copy and I paste it on this big coat area, there we go, into another layer, delete the multiply layer I had there, and then I just fill. There we go, perfect. It almost wasted me no time at all. So this one, because of the way that the line is shaped, I do have to be careful about filling it in. But then, once I'm outside of the boundaries of the actual inside shape and I'm in that negative space, because I'm using a clipping layer, I can just clip really fast. This is going to be me just making sure all my lines are good. Fill in tool, good to go. Class A. Fill in tool, perfect. So this one, I actually don't have lines there, so I have to add lines with the color, which is alright. Don't be afraid to make characters without blue jeans. People have other colors other than blue jeans. This one, I do various shades of black for my outline, and I'm abusing layers like crazy here. I have 4 different layers, or maybe 3 different layers. Maybe that spotlight's on the same layer as the other one. But yep, and then I make a big kind of quasi-circle with the gray. Perfect. And then I just select the areas that I didn't draw because they either didn't need to be drawn, or I filled those in later and I just deleted off the white. And then I clean it up a little bit. And then I draw in. These aren't white, they are a little bit of a gray. And then I come in here and I erase just a little bit, so you can see the color that I'm putting in there. And a fun tip to make your characters look more realistic, you can add more than one color per eye. It doesn't need to be a lot, but you can put just a little bit. The quickest and most dramatic sliding you can do is doing a backlighting. You can tell I'm done in pretty much 4 seconds here. I do add a little bit more detail, but I'm not doing anything crazy in depth. I'm just kind of filling it in as I go. The softer areas like the hair and the collar get a little bit more detail, but nothing crazy is happening here. It's just backlighting. I don't need to do anything wild in the front of it because it is backlighting. There we go. Doing a little bit of detail there, a little bit of detail here. And then I think what I do is I copy it and make both of them multiply layers. Put one of them under a Gaussian blur effect to make it fuzzy. And then I jack both of them down to about 30% opacity. And then I collapse all my color layers, put it on top of my the line art that I did that's about 50% opacity, and then I clip it to it, lower the luminosity, and jack up the saturation to give it a more colored in line art look. That took me about 30 seconds real time. And then I think right now is what I'm doing is I'm adding an overlay. I actually mess up and I put it on the wrong layer right there because I messed up my hotkey inputs, but don't worry, I figured it out, and I fix it right about here. I noticed that I'm on the wrong layer and I go, wait a second, and I do all the way back. I put in my soft light and I call it a day. I'm just using the presets that are in Studio Paint. I'm not doing anything crazy. I erase the actual line art of my city because I don't need it anymore. And then I fix my city up a little bit here. And I'm just erasing some white there. Stuff I didn't get to before. And then what I do first is I add a little bit of glow effect. So So what I do is I select a cross-hatching brush, I jack up the size of it, I select a soft orange, and I put it on a soft light, and I do an overlay, and this makes the dramatic lighting go from good to great. Bam. There we go, perfect. And you don't have to make it orange, it can be blue, it can be whatever. And then I blur it just in places that I think it needs to be blurred, but other than that, I do add a little white outline, and I make my name visible. There we go, that's me. And then what I do is I start fixing up my background city, making it a little bit more city-like. I add I add electrical wires. There we go. I add electrical wires. In the back, I add wires, and I add a little water tower. But yeah, that's kind of what I did during this video, and it shows you the process of how I draw. And there we go. I hope you guys have a good day.